It's shaping up to be a beautiful day. A little bit overcast, but yeah, much better than the last couple of weeks of rainy, horrible shite that we've been experiencing. No wind yet. It's always nice and calm in the morning. Something pretty cool that we don't really see very often. Generally only happens when you're sneaking around real quiet. There's a spoonbill in my dam. I'll see if we can creep up on him. He doesn't know I'm here yet, and we'll see if we can get some good visuals. So this is a yellow-billed spoonbill, and it has a fairly wide range across Australia. Sort of less common, but is also found on Lord Howe Island in New Zealand. And it fishes around in the shallow waters. It has a special bill that has little vibration detectors in it called papillae, and it sort of detects little yabbies and fish and things moving around, and when it feels one it snaps it up and knocks it back. Interesting little thingy. Not quite as big as the royal spoonbill, which is a bigger bird that has a black spoonbill on it like this one does, but it's black and it's a bit bigger. Interesting little thing. Don't see them too often, but when you do it's always worth stopping and smelling the roses. Well, he seemed pretty comfortable having me hanging around. It was nice. It seems like the rest of the world's awake now, so I guess we'll go and get on with the day. Time for some steak and eggs. Delicious. Gotta love that breakfast. Ooh, king parrots. King parrots are a fun little breed. They're a jovial bunch. Heaps of character on these guys. I often see them doodling around in the trees. The males are the ones with the red body and red head, and the females have like a green head, but they still have the red body on them. They're found all the way from Cooktown up in far north Queensland all the way down to Victoria, and usually sort of in wet areas around rainforests and sclerophyll, which is a different type of forest, but still largely a fairly well rained on type of forest. But yeah, nice looking parrot. So you're probably wondering, Hodge, where are you going with all of this? We've seen lots of wonderful birds and weirdnesses that are living on your property, and I just wanted to give you an idea of what's actually out there that's worth looking after around my place. And the way we're going to look after it is by controlling the things that don't belong here. So I just want you to understand that Australia is a very large but isolated place, and we have a lot of weird wildlife here that's quite specialised. It doesn't really take much to unbalance the ecosystem in a negative way, and really when European people came here a couple of hundred years ago, we introduced a bunch of things that didn't really belong in the ecosystem, and we had a variety of things for a variety of reasons, and they had a variety of detrimental effects. Cane toads are one of these things, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Doing a little bit of pest control, but as far as the reason behind it all goes, I just wanted to give you a little bit of history and an understanding on why it is actually necessary to hunt these toads. And we're not just going out there and blazing away and being hillbillies. We're actually doing this for a reason. So in June of 1935, the Sugarcane Bureau introduced the cane toad from Hawaii to northern Queensland in an effort to control the cane beetle. It was thought that the cane beetle itself eats the leaves of the sugarcane plants, which was very bad for the sugarcane industry, but the larvae of the beetle actually eats the roots of the plant as well, which is also a bigger problem. So these people figured they would introduce the cane toad in the hopes that it would eat the larvae and then have the downstream effect of reducing the population of the cane beetle as well that was eating the leaves. And to do that, they introduced the cane toad. The toads have had like a profound and lasting effect on the environment. They poison people, they poison people's pets, but more importantly, they poison native predators, and they also eat a gigantic amount of the food for the local insectivores. So things like skinks and small birds and stuff that eat little bugs. Those little bugs are getting eaten by cane toads now, and they have no food, so they're sort of being displaced from their natural habitat. Specifically, they are responsible for like a huge decline in local quoll numbers. Quoll is a funky little marsupial predator that eats small things like frogs and lizards and whatever else it can get its hands on. They're a funky little devil, but their numbers are in steep decline because they eat the cane toads and they die when they eat the cane toads. So they were quite rare to begin with, and their numbers are dwindling because of the cane toad invasion. Goannas are also suffering, snakes, and there's quite a lot of frogs being displaced by them. And one of the sort of key environmental health indicators is having lots of frogs in an environment. Generally, if there's lots of native frogs in an environment, you can tell that the water's healthy and that the environment's sort of within, pretty close to its balance point. So that's bad that they're displacing all of the local frogs. I don't know if you guys have ever seen an Australian green tree frog, but they're a big old frog. They're sort of about as big as your fist. They get quite big, and they eat what frogs eat, like bugs and larvae and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a real shame to see them moved out of where they belong because of an introduced species. The toad numbers nowadays are estimated to be in the hundreds of millions. So it's a gigantic problem, and the problem is only getting bigger. They migrate west about 60 k's a year. So every year there's 60 kilometres more of Queensland and the Northern Territory that's affected by these toads. And the worst thing about it all is there is currently no evidence that the cane beetle population was affected at all. So it was a big swing and a miss by the people that tried this out, and it really didn't work at all. So it's not all bad news though. There are a few native predators that have adapted and learned how to eat them. The black kite has shown up to fight the good fight. They are a weirdly intelligent bird. They are known for flying down after lightning strikes and after bushfires and picking up still burning sticks, flying them off over to a new patch of fresh unburnt ground, and then dropping said burning stick into that foliage, starting a new bushfire, which chases all of their prey out, so they can fly around and see it and come down and bomb them when they're trying to get away from the fire. They've learnt to flip the toads over and eat them from their belly and avoid the poison sacs on their back. I'm a big fan of these birds. I've actually had one steal a sausage roll right out of my hand while I was at a truck stop at Cloncurry in Western Queensland, right on the border. It was it was quite an experience. It just swooped straight down out of the sky and went whoop, and took my food, so I had to go back and buy more. But yes, I've been a fan of these birds ever since. But among them, there's also some native frogs that also eat the toad's tadpoles, but I think there's only one species that is actually immune to the poison, because the toadpoles carry the poison as well. But further to that, the trusty old Australian meat ant eats them as well, and they basically get away with it because the toad expects the ants to die from the poison, so that toad just sits still, and the ants basically just swarm all over the toad and kill it before the poison kills the ants. And then, to an ant colony, what's 50 dead ants? It's nothing. So the rest of them eat around it, and then so basically there's not too many predators that have adapted, but at the end of that predator list, there's me, and the men and women like me who do their best to control toads in their own local area. This typically isn't effective as a large-scale method of control, but it also doesn't mean that you shouldn't take care of what you can take care of, because if you can improve your local ecosystem, even if it would only be temporary, because like if I stopped killing cane toads around my place, within a year or two they would all be back. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it just because once you leave they come back. If you can clean out your area of toads, you can improve your local system, your local ecosystem to no end. So I think it is a job that's worth doing, even if that's not effective on a population level. At least on a local level you can do some improvement. It's important to remember that the toads themselves aren't at fault. It's the people that introduced them that made the mistake. So there's no real reason for any hunter who's worth his salt to be abusive and cause any unnecessary suffering. I think like there are guidelines for how to do it. There are a few different methods that are approved by local animal activists, but I think a better way than their suggested ways is just a quick, painless airgun pellet to the back of the head. So enter the FX Crown. So this is my air gun. This is the FX Crown. I have other air guns, but this one's by far the best one that I've got at the moment. Definitely my favourite. It's in 25 caliber, and with these guns you can actually change the caliber. You just got to buy the next barrel up and whack her on in there. Use the different magazine and different pellet probe, and you're on board. But this one's in 25, which is more than enough clout for killing cane toads. We're running exact King Heavy Diablo Mark IIs, and on full power this gun shoots them the way that I've tuned it at about 870 feet per second, but on the setting that we're going to use tonight it'll be on power level 3, which is about halfway in the middle of its power range, and it'll be lobbing them out at about 717 feet per second. Plenty of power to get through a tough skin of a toad. I wouldn't recommend using anything smaller than a 22 air rifle. 17 you could probably get away with if your shot placement was perfect, but it would have to be a ripper of a .177, because a lot of them they tend to be break barrels and they tend to be quite low on power, and if they're not a proper hardcore high powered 177, I wouldn't bother. If I was you, I would use a 22 or a 25 or a 30 cal air gun, or just go straight for a 22 long rifle with a subsonic in it if you need to keep the noise down, or a supersonic if you are in the wide open spaces and the noise level doesn't matter. But this is what we're using tonight. So the scope on it is an Optizan 6-24 times f1, so first focal plane scope, MRAD reticle, MRAD turrets on it. Great target scope. Not ideal for what we're doing tonight because it's not illuminated, and the 6 times magnification on scopes tends to sort of trap quite a bit of light. The more you zoom in, the less clear they become, the less light they transmit for whatever reason. So we'll be running this wide open at 6 times on its lowest power setting, which is fine because it's usable, and we're not exactly going to be shooting long range tonight. Pretty much everything we're going to be doing is going to be offhand. So we'll go down the range, zero it up for that power setting, and yeah, get used to shooting offhand. Get a bit of practice in before we go for the real deal, and make sure that we've got all of our bases covered. So here we are down in the back paddock. This might look a little bit silly because I'm only 5 paces away from the target, but you have to actually get a little bit of practice in at the distances that you're going to be shooting. So we're going to be doing real close-up stuff, and on a tune that I don't normally use. So, well, not for this anyway. Normally for hunting I would use the full power tune, but there's me target just down there. So gonna get the zero at 5 paces, and yeah, move around a bit in and out, make sure that I understand how good my groups are going to be, because I'm going to be shooting offhand. So I'm going to be able to find out here and now what ranges I can actually sort of shoot at ethically, I suppose. Right, so the beauty of a first focal plane scope is you can just mill it and then move your turrets to match. So we're 4.5 mils. Go up. Four and a half, and left one. Alright, and then we'll check it on the next square. Alright, let's go and check it out. Well, there you go, that was a long walk. So there's my first group on the left there, a little bit low and a little bit to the left. Wound it for elevation and then took it right a little bit, and there we are, we're bang on. So time to take a few standing shots, because that's pretty much how we're going to be shooting all night, unless I can find somewhere good to get a rest. But generally you kind of have to out angle these toads. Now this is precisely why we do where I'm doing right now. So the first group was a 0 group, the second group was the one that I adjusted and moved on, and now this third group that I just shot, nice tight group, but the point of impact is slightly different. So it's important that we know that the impact point is different, because we don't want to miss. We want things to go well. So I'm landing slightly high, as you can see there, a little high and a little to the right. So something to keep in mind. I'm going to aim off a little bit and get a few more groups in, and just make sure that I know exactly where the rounds that I'm sending are going to land. Right, so just put a couple more mags through to figure out where things are going. Took another 5 steps back, and the elevation changed again. So I milled it, aimed off, and brought it back on target. Same thing again, 5 more paces, went even further up, and then I milled it and aimed off with the reticle, and we're bang on again. So not quite perfect, but more than good enough. So happy with that. Now we're coming towards the end of toad season at the moment. They tend to explode in numbers during the warmer months, but it's we're just kicking over into winter down here in the southern hemisphere, so they're slowing down a little bit. So the rest of this footage is going to be hunting footage from 2 different nights, one from tonight and one from the other day, where we went hunting and shot a bunch of toads, and then had us a nice little bonfire and a couple of beers, and it was great. So yeah, enjoy. One down. Very good. Beautiful. Alright, so next day, it's dark. I'm a one-man band this time, so I don't know how well this is going to work. And on top of that, I'm running my my Canon camera as my camera that's going to be filming me, and I've got my new Sony RX100 on top of the rifle. So hopefully we'll be able to get some good footage, but I'm not exactly using solid low light gear, so we'll just do our best and we'll see what we end up with. Perfect. Very good. Perfect. Very good. Very disappointed with myself. Just had the perfect shot and didn't press record. Face palm. Yeah. Still, however, an excellent result. Let's have a close look. There you go, you can see that lead spot right in the middle of his back, going straight in through his back and then out the top of his head. Beautiful, beautiful. A very humane kill, would have felt nothing. All good. I think I aimed off a little bit too much on that one. Aimed a bit low and it went a bit low. Surprise, surprise. A little bit of over penetration on that one. It is a doorknob. Alright, so there's our friend. Missed him the first time. Definitely got him the second time. Getting a bit of over penetration. Might have to dial back the old power level on the Crown and send it back to minimum perhaps. There we go. Looking pretty good. Pretty good. Doesn't get much better than that. Ooh, the old lens is getting a bit misty. Kind of humid tonight. Well, I reckon that'll outdo us for this evening. Got a good haul of toads, and hopefully that footage comes out alright. Some of it looked like it was a bit blurry on the little RX100. But yeah, much respect to anybody who goes hunting and films it on their own, because that's super difficult. I've got a Eagle Vision scope cam coming in the mail. I sold my my motorbike, so I've got a big shopping list of toys to buy for the shooting hobbies. So I've got some cool stuff coming in the future. So I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, hit that subscribe button, smash like, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.